Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning, good morning. It's good to see you today. It's great to have you. Welcome to my house, welcome to the office, and welcome to the morning grind. Yes, the hat returned this morning, so it seems like it was a hit yesterday, and I was running again behind today, so this morning was up last night working on a bunch of stuff. So here I am with the hat again. I hope everybody's doing well. We have come over to the other side, or are now on the other side of the cold weather. I don't know what's happening in the coming weeks, but we are now actually over on the other side of the cold weather. It's warming up here, so it'll get the house warm, be able to like move around. I got to clean the house. So being able to move around the house will be fantastic, and having it not be freezing. So hopefully where you are, we're on the other side of that as well. Hopefully that means also the books will ship from the printer. Now, hopefully, I'm not sure what's going on. They said they were actually up in Tennessee. I didn't know that Tennessee was dealing with a whole bunch of snow, or had been dealing. I haven't paid that much attention nationally. But hopefully they are also thawing out, and so maybe the books will ship for the Kickstarter, and all of that will get back going. So who do we have here? Let's see. For some reason, even my contacts are not seated on my eyes. Good morning, Lynn. We got Lynn. We've got James, BGD. Good morning. Good morning. Jada's. I can't see very well. Good morning. It's great to have you here. Oh, Jade's Tabletop Tavern. Good morning. Good morning. Good to have you here. PH, good morning. Kane, good morning. Good morning. Oh, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, Carl Make Stuff is here. Wow, we've got a lot of people here this morning. Sean, Raider, welcome, welcome, welcome. Michael, good morning. Sable, all right. We've got a whole crew. I see Robert, PH. All right. It's fantastic to have everybody here this morning. So our main topic for today is going to be taking a look at the index card RPG, which we have looked at before. It's been a long time ago on the Morning Grind. It was actually a rather early thing that we looked at on the Morning Grind. Probably a really early episode. People told me I need to look at the index card RPG, and I did, and I enjoyed it, and I remember liking a lot of its philosophy. Now, when we talked about RPG design, there's a lot that I want to draw from Fate, but then also there was a lot that I'd like to draw from the index card RPG. But also, I was going to come in here and create, like 2 weeks ago, create the index card RPG, create a virtual tabletop for the create a virtual tabletop for the index card RPG to go in the gaming tavern. Creating Shadow Dark took a bit too long. Took all the time I was going to allocate to both of those. But I still think it might be a good idea to go back and take a look at the index card RPG because of its inspiration. Well, because of its popularity here, it's come up quite a bit. And it also came up a bit during our Shadow Dark 5-room dungeon build. It seems like we were talking about how Shadow Dark did things and how index card RPG did things during that build out. So it came up a lot here. I know it's very popular here on the channel with a lot of people. I want it to be fresh in my memory as far as mechanics go. And then also, I think it's a good idea to look at it first to see actually what would be needed to build out something in playingcards.io to play the index card RPG in. We did get the index card VTT basically working in the virtual coffee shop. So you've got an alternate system for playing in there. And of course, the index card virtual tabletop can play a lot more than just the index card RPG. It's a really fantastic system. So it's good that it integrates as well. But on the other hand, there are a few things that the playingcards.io does that the virtual tabletop, index card virtual tabletop does not do, and vice versa, of course. So I think that having like a starter game built out in playingcards.io would be a good thing to ultimately have. Yeah, now that the hat is, I think, a long time ago, I thought, oh, should I just wear a hat in YouTube videos? But now the hat is a hit. You could adopt it on bad hair days and just leave the camera on. Yeah, sometimes there's worse. Sometimes it's worse than just bad hair when I don't have the camera on. Yeah, and we went over it. We took a look at we did that on the Morning Grind. So we did take a look at, that was a couple of weeks ago. We did specifically take a look at the index card virtual tabletop here on the Morning Grind. So BGD says yes. Okay, so yes, Kane here. Please note that Kane in the chat is Kane Driscoll. I tell you, I'm still having trouble seeing here. Is Kane Driscoll, the host of Kane's Kiln website and Discord server, ICRPG every day, and preeminent resource for the ICRPG system. Yes, definitely check out Kane because I'm subscribed and I see a whole bunch of his videos go by and we talk. And he talks a lot about the index card RPG, and I watched a bunch of his different videos on the subject. So definitely subscribe to him over there. Okay. Let me just tell you what's coming up real fast. I was making up thumbnails yesterday. I'm still behind, as always. Everything takes longer than you want it to. But on Table Talk tonight, on the Table Talk channel, click this up here. Faraway Bird. We're discussing Faraway Bird tonight. That's Doug's book about the Empress Theodora that inspired him to later go on to write The Heroine's Labyrinth, which is an alternative story structure to the hero's journey for stories with feminine heroes. But tonight, finally, we are getting a chance to talk about Faraway Bird novel, historical fiction. I just finished it last night about the Empress Theodora. I think a lot of people here have been reading it. Brianna's going to be on tonight. Sable Phoenix is going to be on tonight. James Bacon is going to be on tonight, as well as Doug, the author. And so we're going to be talking about Faraway Bird tonight. And I think that's going to be a fantastic conversation. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. I thought it was a great book. So it'll be great to talk to the author. But then on Thursday, I've never actually just gotten to talk to Retro Nerd Girl one-on-one. She kind of got thrown into the fire with everything we're doing over here when she joined a dinner and a board game stream first off. That was the first thing she did. And then she jumped into Star Wars Ahsoka conversations on the Table Talk channel, and then went into Terminator 2 discussions with Doug and me on Table Talk. So I've never actually just gotten to talk to her one-on-one. So we're going to start off by going back to the beginning and kind of like interviewing Retro Nerd Girl and figuring out who she is, what she's about, giving her some time to talk about that. Because even though she's been on streams with other people, she's never been solo. So we can learn a little bit more about Retro Nerd Girl. And then also, as it happens, we're going to be talking about the 1987? I believe it's 1987 Dolph Lundgren film, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I noticed that she had reviewed this movie on the channel. We can talk about that, toward the end. We'll talk about what she's doing, what her projects are. She's been doing some filmmaking. She's been doing some at-home filmmaking and stuff. So I want to talk about that, what it is, what she does, her creative interests. And then at the end, we can talk about what worked and what didn't work and what happened with that movie. So, all right. That's what's going on right there. So here, I'll put, this is the link directly. So actually, well, this is the link to Retro Nerd Girls, Retro Nerd Girl stream. That's Thursday. Oh, and we'll be starting an hour later. Retro Nerd Girl needs to start an hour later. So we'll start an hour later on Thursday. But tonight, so 8 o'clock p.m. Central. So you may want to hit the notification button. But then tonight, here is Faraway Bird right here. Good morning, Stray. Good morning, Stray. It's very important to get Retro Nerd Girl's view on whether or not Batman is an agent of chaos or order. Yes, that's a hot topic around here. All right, let me just leave. So tomorrow we should actually be able to get into the coffee shop. But if you want to play games with us, I'm going to put the online coffee shop link in the comments right there. All right. So let's go over here. Let's do our morning ritual, and then we'll take a look. We'll start by taking a look at the quick start guide. But first, let's do our morning reading here. Let me take this down. And then go over here to Turning Pro. Oh, and thank you. Join us on the Raven Keep Discord server if you're new here. Please do like the stream and subscribe, and then also join us in the Raven Keep Discord server. We would love to have you. All right, everybody got your drink this morning? I've got some Coke Zero this morning. Didn't get to making coffee yet. We'll have to do that after the stream. So, all right, everybody, let's take 2 deep breaths, complete inhales, deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage this morning. Here we go. And sip. BGD says, I always really like what Retro Nerd Girl adds to the live discussions on Table Talk. I do too. Retro Nerd Girl is great. Yes, tonight's Faraway Bird discussion is at 7 p.m. Central. That's standard time. Thursday, we'll start an hour later at 8 p.m. Central time. All right. So here is our reading for today from Stephen Pressfield's Turning Pro. We come to a practice in humility. We may bring intention and intensity to our practice. In fact, we must, but not ego. Dedication, even ferocity, yes, but never arrogance. The space of the practice is sacred. It belongs to the goddess. We take our shoes off before we enter. We press our palms together and we bow. Do you understand how the mystery can be approached via order? We come to a practice as students. Even the peerless sword master Miyamoto Musashi entered the fighting square to learn as much as to teach. All right. Let's go over here and take a look at the index card RPG, what it does. And I'm also going to take some notes around here about what would need to be built out if we were to build this out in playingcards.io. It would be good to have two different RPGs. Of course, you can play whatever you want, like I said, in the index card RPG. And you could probably adapt the Shadow Dark to other things, D&D especially. But I think it would be good to have at least two options that are ready to get started with play in the coffee shop. Here it is. Here's my window. All right. So I thought we would just start with the starter set. And hopefully I can zoom in where I can read this. Okay. So, index card RPG being very popular around here. Let's take a look at this. Also generate some. They may already have some pre-generated characters for it. That could be. Let me turn off the thumbnails. They may already have some pre-generated characters. We spent a fair amount of time making Shadow Dark characters, and I enjoyed that. But, there were also pre-generated characters already for Shadow Dark. So we might make up some in order to put into the tabletop, or maybe there are some that are already made up. I noticed that there were tokens in here. I've forgotten that I had tokens that I think came with the index card RPG. So that's cool. They could just be immediately imported, I believe. Hey, Stefanatic. Hi. Okay, so what is this? What does this say? We got introduction, we got core system, introduction, core system, player's guide, GM innovations. Is there a? Yeah, oh, yes. Okay, character sheet at the back here. So here is the character sheet. So there's a lot that looks familiar about index card RPG. I think a lot of people, that's probably one of its draws. I mean, undoubtedly, the 5th edition system, although a negative to many people, just speak nothing about Dungeons and Dragons specifically, but the 5th edition general system, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is a brand, but the 5th edition system, a lot of people know. So when you look at this, you're like, hey, let's learn a new RPG. Well, I think for a lot of people, it does help that you're looking at things like strength, dex, constitution, wisdom, and charisma, and so forth, that is at least instantly familiar. So we do have that in the index card RPG. Kane has the entire set of pre-generated characters for ICRPG Elfheim fantasy environment available on his coffee shop. Jade's Tabletop Tavern says, no real pre-gens per se, but making a character is very easy. Okay, we may have to make some up. Now, of course, in the, do I have my physical copy sitting right here? I got stuff all over the office again. I know there are several different settings inside the main book. Lynn says, familiarity is a plus, but it creates a sort of trap. You can't break out of the original paradigm. Well, yeah, I mean, there are disadvantages too. that, when all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And it may not fit every single world. But now, the Index Card RPG does have several different settings in the master book. The master edition set, there's several different settings, so it's intended to be intended as a general system to be played in several different campaign environments, campaign worlds, and of course you can create your own as well. So it's not like it was trying to create a game that was tailored. That's my understanding, that it's not a game that's tailored to a particular setting. So we've got this game. I think we were introduced to right after we had made a general observation that how do we deal with partial successes in RPGs, and we were discussing that, and I said before we'd gotten into Index Cards RPG, well, one thing that you could do, because you've got combat, and combat is a way of adjudicating partial success. My objective is to kill the orc. Okay, were you successful? Were you not successful? Or were you partially successful? Well, how can you be partially successful killing the orc? Well, by taking away 3 of its 7 hit points. Okay, that was partial success in killing the orc, right? So one thing we said you could do is you could add hit points to other tasks. Of course, you generalize the term, but the general idea, if you're trying to adjudicate, because we've talked about partial success on the channel before, and how that can often be something that's easily written into an RPG. Oh, you can succeed or you can fail in your tasks, or you can be partially successful, and the game master and the other people at the table can just come up with some way, come up with what it means to be partially successful. And we came up with some rather funny examples about that. Because oftentimes, even though it's easy to write into a game book, it can often, adjudicating partial success at the table, especially if you're trying to do it on the fly, can be difficult. Like if you're trying to adjudicate, okay, so you were partially successful at doing, whatever this is, what exactly does that mean? And we don't require people to do that when we're fighting the orc. We've got a mechanic in there to adjudicate partial success for the death of the orc. So one thing we could do is take our kind of loose way of handling partial success for tasks other than combat and add them to combat if you're looking for some kind of unified action mechanic, which I always like. Or you could take hit points and give them to other tasks as well. I say all that because that's basically the approach that Index Card RPG said. We said that and said, oh, wait a minute, Index Card RPG does something like that. That was a while back ago. So the Index Card RPG is going to give, like, if you're trying to pick the lock, okay, what if you're only partially successful at picking the lock and need to continue? Well, then the lock can basically have something like hit points that you are going to degrade over time. When all the hit points are gone, then you're able to open the lock. So if you're in a time, if you're in some type of environment where there's a limited amount of time to do something, then whether or not you're able to get the lock open on the first round, the second round, or whatever might be just as significant as whether or not you're able to kill the orc on the first round, the second round, or the third round. So, but this over here, let's see what people are saying over here. Michael J. Pastor says it's a paradigm for a reason, talking about 5th edition. So yeah, Kane has put down all of the different pre-built on there, pre-built campaigns that are in the Master Edition. BGD says, compared to Shadow Dark Basic, creating character generation in ICRPG is dramatically faster, in part to the fact that it's a point distribution system, and in part because there's no derivative stats. And I've been an advocate of fast character creation before. Now, of course, it's always a bit slower when you're doing things on stream, but it did take a while to generate all of those Shadow Dark characters. I don't know. I don't think we actually came up with an average amount of time. I guess we could. Like the one I did one wizard off screen, and it went faster. But especially in Shadow Dark, where death is something that's really present often. I think you'd want character creation to be faster. So Sable says ICRPG has some cross-pollination from things like Knave, Maul's Ritter, at all, where your character class is at least partially determined by your gear. PH says partial success can be something that engage the rest of the group. Maybe a thief managed to partially open a lock, and now there's a need for a strength check to fully open it. Yeah, you could do something like that. To bring in, okay, the barbarian can't break it right now, but if it's partially picked, then the barbarian could. Michael J. Pastor. Michael says, climbing is a perfect example. You roll climb walls to achieve a percentage of the distance. BGD says, ICRPG's conceptualization and employment of mechanical effort to resolve player characters' actions in both combat and non-combat situations is a key feature of the system, yet it's portable to others. Yeah, BGD, Sable says, oh, well, let's see, wait a minute. BGD says the contents of the ICRPG Master Edition's extraordinary and comprehensive GM section make it relevant to anyone in the RPG hobby, simply one of the best chapters on game mastery ever, as many have said. And that's why we did use it even when we were building out that Shadow Dark dungeon we did over the past few days. But Sable says, it's surprising to me how many few systems actually do it this way. It's elegant, makes sense, and eliminates the vast tracks of special case rules. I agree. All right, so you do have these effort dice over here, which is actually similar to a direction that I was going. It didn't apply. I wasn't applying everything to separating it all out in exactly this way. But what happens when you use a tool? I was thinking about this the other day. Let's use a general term here. What happens when you use a tool to try to accomplish a task? Well, it should make it easier for you. If we're giving the kill the orc example, okay, I'm going to kill the orc. All right. All I've got, it's just me. How easy is that? Might be rather difficult. But why not use a particular tool? In this case, we have certain tools called a weapon that I could use when attempting to kill the orc, which might make me more successful. So that's why saying I kill the orc or I try to kill the orc when I'm holding on to an arming sword is easier than when I'm holding on to like a sap or nothing at all. The tool should amplify, or could, depending on your game system, the tool could amplify your chances of success. Now, you've got a situation where some tasks require certain tools. If you don't have certain tools, you're not going to be able to attempt the task anyway. How do you, so if you don't have the tool, you can't even attempt it. On the other hand, you might be able to attempt it with a variety of different tools, and some tools might be better or worse than others. And if you are using better tools, then your chances of accomplishing the task should increase, like a weapon being a lever, which is going to help you kill the orc. So Index Card RPG uses that kind of approach here for these effort dice. Basic effort D4, weapons and tools D6. So if you were we're trying to eliminate those hit points of things that all the different kinds of things that can have, they call them hearts in here, but basically hit points. If you're trying to chew down some hit points, right, eliminate some hit points, the better the kind of weapon you're using, or the better tool, the easier that's going to be. And so that's represented by these different size dice here. Basic effort with D4, weapons and tools with a D6. Guns make things easier than using weapons and tools. That's a D8. Magic, energy and magic is a D10, and then the ultimate die is the D12 here. So this seems combat oriented right here. Weapons and tools. If you're trying to pick a lock, then the tools would be D6. But if you're trying to kill the orc here, well, you'll be hardest to do that just using your hands. It'll be easier if you have a tool, if you have some kind of weapon. If you've got a gun, though, it'll be even easier to shoot the orc. or magic is even better than that. So we've got a place for hearts over here, defense. This is, oh, and I can't read that. Hero coin, and then a slot for dying, and I can't read what's under that either. We'll get to it here in a moment. Loot, abilities, powers, augments, and mastery. This down here is for leveling up, I remember, but I don't remember exactly how that works. Michael says, remember masterwork tools? I was actually thinking about that when I was talking about that a second ago. So, yeah, that idea, wasn't that from 3rd edition? May have been 3rd edition. But I do remember things like masterwork tools. So if you have better tools, it's going to make the task easier. So that wasn't a huge thing, but that idea was certainly there. And it's also there with like a masterwork weapons. And that's also like if you've got a magic weapon, that's a better tool, right? So I'm a big fan of unified action mechanics. Instead of like anytime you're trying to take action in the world, I want that mechanic to be the same. That's what makes it easy, the game easy to play from the game perspective. Because if when we go really old school games, you see that they were built in an ad hoc way and don't have any unified action mechanics. If you want to search for doors, then searching for secret doors is very different than different mechanic than searching for treasure, which is different than attempting to kill the orc, which is different from jumping over the pit. Unifying all of that makes the game easier because you don't have to look up all of the different special rules for how to do certain things. So it would make sense based on that. It would make sense to unify the mechanic for using a masterwork tool to accomplish forging some new armor or something, masterwork blacksmithing tools, and using a masterwork sword to kill the orc. Like if you're looking for a unified action mechanic, those would be the same. Daniel M says, what defines the effectiveness? A barbarian hand crushing orc throats versus a wizard swinging a great axe. Wizard has an axe, makes him better at combat or at proficiency in play. So I think actually this may be being answered down below. But I still think, so I think in this case, you're still going to have, you still got your stats over here. So I still think that there would be a disparity in combat ability between the barbarian and the wizard. But I think, so the barbarian, I think, would have the higher, like what if you're adding your strength or something to it. But I like the idea that if you're a low strength wizard who isn't really good at killing things, how do you compensate for that? Well, a great way to compensate for that might be to hit them with an axe. If you're a high battle skill barbarian who's a great fighter, then yeah, you might be able to crush orcs with your bare hands, crushing orc throats with your hands. You'll be even better if you use an axe. But if you're the lowly wizard who is watching the barbarian cleave through orcs with his hands, you can't do that with your hands. It might be better to use a tool like a great axe. See, that idea, that thinking there seems to be, I like that direction of thinking. You could also intimidate someone. Charisma, for instance. Oh, okay. So we're going to try to intimidate them. Is that success or not? Well, why don't we use our effort dice here, like our hearts here. For intimidation, a charisma check, 1 heart of effort with a 12 gauge shotgun guns instead of a pocket knife. All right. So there you go. So if your charisma is what's helping you intimidate somebody, all right, we're going to try to intimidate them. This is going to be 1 heart of effort, and 1 heart of effort is basically 10 hit points. And I'm going to be intimidating them with my pocket knife. Well, all right. But it would be better if I'm intimidating them with a shotgun. Makes sense. Makes sense. Kane says, lockpick. Use tool effort to unlock doors. Masterwork lockpicks use ultimate effort when unlocking doors. So that's what ultimate is here for. Okay, I like that. Tool effort to unlock doors. I got masterwork lockpicks. Throw on ultimate. So that's like the magic ultimate, the ultimate lockpicks, right? Yeah. So, back in the day, Michael says, and I think my eyes are finally clearing up here, so I can read better. Masterwork gave you a +1 advantage that wasn't based on magic, so that got you the +1, but it didn't help on magical creatures, right? Lynn says unified game mechanics are for the most part a good thing. I agree. So character classes being even partially defined by equipment is something that never convinced me in tabletop role-playing games, but I used to love that in Dungeon Siege. I don't know Dungeon Siege. So the barbarian would be built out for strength and weapon effort, while the wizard would be less likely to have those bonuses. Okay, let's go back up to the top here. See, this RPG does always spark a lot of conversation. So I'm glad we're getting back to it. I think it'll be a good one to have if we can get it up and running in the online coffee shop. Which, by the way, I got closer to done yesterday for a test this weekend, but not quite done. So that's my task this afternoon. I'll post a link here again if you're interested in playing tabletop games with us, including RPGs. There is an interest form. It's just an interest form. You're not committing to anything, but there's an interest form. I just put that here in the comment section again. So if you would like to play Hero Quest, I got Hero Quest, Dragon Strike put out. I put out a how to play Hero Quest in 5 minutes video on the channel yesterday. I don't think I'm going to have time to do all of the different games that we've got, but I did a series on Shadow Dark, on Hero Quest, and I'm going to put out the Dragon Strike video today, how to play in 5 minutes. And that's like if you are here, we're at a table with me, and you're like, hey, I want to play this game. Okay, what do I need to know? Well, here's 5 minutes of what you need to know. It's not every rule in the book, but it's 5 minutes on what you need to know in order to sit down and get playing, and then you can pick up the rest of the table. So I think that's good because I want people to be able to also explore new games. So like, oh, I don't know how to play that. Well, we can do teaching too, but also I want there to be a link there in that help document. I need to put that in the help document. So if you're like, oh, okay, so Hero Quest, how do I play this? Well, here's Hero Quest in 5 minutes. Here's what you need to know to get started. All right, introduction. This is the quick start. This is quick start, by the way. A glorious mess. Gathered round the table, shuffling 3-ringed binders and using popcorn for goblins, I discovered what many of us do, the infinite, exciting, you had to be there fun of tabletop RPGs. We were brazen, clumsy dreamers, smashing worlds together, exploring new dimensions, and surprising our benefactors with undue heroism. We let the dinosaurs run free, drew swords with gods. No matter what madness came next, we stuck together. We didn't just play to game, we played to find out our own strengths and to share them with each other. Fast forward a few decades, a few thousand index cards, a few hundred notebooks, and a lifetime not unlike that of a wizard, buried in dusty old books and parchment maps. The adventures continue. The index card RPG represents the accidental, intuitive, inevitable result of countless game sessions and legendary tales. It wasn't invented so much as discovered. It was hiding right there all along, in sheaves of paper, wobbly drawings, and bags of dice. I am more of its documentarian than its creator. Since the first release of its series of silly Sharpie drawings in 2016, ICRPG has become an unstoppable bestseller that serves as a rallying point for a vibrant, creative community of players and creators in several countries, digital platforms, and languages. It's helped unlock the potential of so many game masters and clumsy dreamers. It was always my dream to push people over the edge of the doubts and hesitations, to remind them of the endless landscape of their own imagination, and send them tumbling with reckless enthusiasm. It's an ever-growing, ever-improving heap of rules, drawings, maps, and mayhem. It's a glorious mess. Its fundamental free-for-all form works to clear away just enough popcorn to see the table and keep playing. Spread the word. May all your dice roll high. Hankrin, what's the last name? Farinol? Would he be a good one to have on Table Talk sometime? With the creator of the Index Card RPG? be someone who we should talk to one time? Let's see. Hey, Brent. Welcome. Dungeon Siege was an early 2000s PC game in which you could wield a sword or spell and become better on them just by using increases by using them, and you would get better. Okay. BGD says, for some reason, the biggest hurdle to appreciating, leveraging, and enjoying the ICRPG is breaking out of the 5E mindset that assumes that the way that Hasbro product does things is the only way to do them. Oh, Foreign Ale. Okay, thank you. Foreign Ale. We should try to have him on. Let me, I was going to take notes over here. Let me see. I've got a list of potential guests. And, oh, by the way, we've got a special guest next Tuesday on Table Talk. We've got we're finalizing some details now, but we were very excited last night that we've got an amazing guest a week from tonight on Tuesday. I haven't made up the thumbnail yet. I think we're going to announce it tonight on Table Talk, but we've got a really great guest for Table Talk a week from today. Let me make note in the potential guest list for Table Talk, especially as we start more RPG design and stuff on here. Okay, I got it. I got it. Note taken. Jade says Runehammer is an amazing creator. Man, just one second. And Carl says he's a great guy. Lots of fun to talk to. Well, that's exactly what we should talk about. PH says Hank is a great guy to have. He has knowledge, and he used to think a lot about mechanics and the philosophy of RPGs. Well, perfect. All right. So let's see. A D20 system U command. Whether it's a dead starship in the cold depths of space, the brimstone citadels of the nether realms, the frozen tombs of a primordial past, or the great stone towers of the noblest ages, adventures everywhere and every when. There you are, front and center, ready to save the world. ICRPG provides a role-playing framework, a creative mindset, and heaps of loot players will need to get the job done. Check out that's all that's out there on page 76 for a comprehensive list of ICRPG materials you can add to your arsenal. This is the quick start guide. We have 76 pages. This PDF will get you started. Introduction. All right, let's see. Let's get into this. Things you need. We know about that. Introduction. Well, okay, let's talk about index cards for a moment. Before we dive into the core system, you might be wondering why in the nine hells this RPG is named after the humble index card. There's no drama in these bits of paper, no excitement, no fantasy. I mean, they're index cards for crying out loud. For reasons that will become ever apparent, you'll see the index cards a metaphor for the entire way of thinking. Your ideas are delivered in small, digestible bits. You will treasure memorization over book checking. You will divide your game world into tasty little packages. Most of all, you'll be able to create, organize, and execute on the fly as this wacky action of a good RPG session unfolds. Here's why they earned the title spot. Humble origins. In the many years of gaming that led up to the system, no one tool was more clutch to me as a game master. I use them like crazy. Creative kick. Ever draw a complete blank on preparing a session or creating a new monster? Stack up cards with random drawings, shuffle and pull a few. It's like tarot for GMs. Interpret and get going. Monsters. Nothing organizes your monsters for a session better than an index card. When they're killed, tear the sucker up. Terrain and distance. With a Sharpie at the ready, you can improvise bridgeways, walls, doorways, and more with a few quick lines. When you really start to embrace this, the cards themselves measure distance in your world. Loot. Draw that magic sword on a card, mark down the stats, and hand it to the player who just unlocked that rusty old chest. It's great. I love handing things to players. That's why I like cards. This philosophy in general is the kind of what I want to import. Everything else, anything you may need for a game session, for your prep or your design process, can find tidy, separate homes on cards. Yes, you're going to chew through hundreds of these little beauties. All right, let's get into actually how to play the core system. Let's see. Here's a list of the latest tweaks. Effort dice. Guns finally have their own dice category, and magic has been upgraded. Wizards rejoice. Defenses. High armor characters always seem a bit left out with their key stat. No more. Use your defense as a key role with this addition. Stat supply. The amount of points available for players building characters has been upgraded. Let's be a little more badass. The chosen targets. So much discussion has occurred around the much-used target system in ICRPG. This document takes it a bit further, isolating 4 key features that are all you really need. Fewer decisions equals faster play. Decades. For all your diehards out there, you'll notice that the life forms and types reveal some next chapter details about Elfheim and Warpshell. The worlds march on. How will your story depths? Well, how do we actually play? Let's get into how to play. Describe it, roll the bones. Once the GM hears what you're imagining, he'll let you know what type of roll is needed and let you know. Roll for it. D20 plus your strength stat, beat a 13. Roll D20 plus dex against a 15. Okay, that's the basics kind of 5th edition. Jade says, Runehammer Hank has a great philosophy on game mechanics, and his 3 rules have helped me focus on my own game design and my tables. Hank has a particularly funny segment on his channel that has a sort of similar ritual to ours here. It's called Drunkens and Dragons. Oh, I'll have to check that out. BGD says, another great feature of ICRPG is that it's granularity agnostic. I'm detailed-oriented, but I'm not a hand waver, and I love the table spectacle of handcrafted 3D terrain. ICRPG still lets me play my way. Okay, core system. 3 kinds of turns. Unless you spend your turn just talking or looking good, it will take one of these 3 forms every single time. Not only will you get used to this formula, but you will learn to master it, to exploit it, and to push it to the limits to survive. Better yet, to triumph. Here are the 3 types of turns in RPG. Action only, move near and action, or move far. So there we go. We are using near, close, far, all of that. Examples of common turns. Action only. Sometimes you're exactly where you want to be and staying put for this turn. You might attack an enemy with a weapon, get a closer look at an enclosed glyph or systems, or cast a magic spell, call upon magic power or spell. Move plus action. Dash down the corridor and smash a hole in the wall. Hurry to a friend and help heal her injuries. Move through a battlefield to block incoming arrows. Move far. You use your entire turn just to move twice as far as normal. If you just need to move as far as you can, you might sprint down a dusty street to escape an explosion. Run to reach your grav bite before the bad guys steal it. 3 kinds of actions. Jade says, the RPG mainframe has been a great source of thought-provoking game design notes and concepts. So 3 kinds of actions here. In 2 of the 3 turn types, you're rolling dice. That means you're taking an action on your turn. Actions are where most of the ICRPG game system takes hold of the game and makes itself known. There are 3 types of actions differentiated by how much work they take to succeed. Simple actions, auto success, no roll needed. Checks, a d20 roll plus a stat, meet or beat the target. Or attempts, meet or beat the target plus roll for effort. Examples of common actions. Okay, simple actions. Start the engine on a starship, reel in the cable of a small cargo hoist, fix a saddle to your trusty steed. Checks, instantaneous but uncertain actions. So the key here would be instantaneous. So we're not talking about time here. Instantaneous but uncertain actions that require a single die roll. They either succeed or fail in a split second. What makes a check, you might ask, I guess. Oh, when making a check, you might use your dex stat to leap over a fissure in the ice, use your strength stat to shove a wooden crate aside, use lockpicks and a little elbow grease to jimmy over an unlocked door. Okay, so lockpicks actually right here. And we've been using lockpicks as an example of something with effort, but actually right here, lockpicks are an example of an instantaneous check. Oh, Sable says you should bring up your dungeon quadrant pizza to illustrate close, near, or far. Yeah, we definitely need. I don't have that handy at the moment. But I was thinking that's something that can be imported over and use close, near, and far for the index card RPG. And put the quadrant dungeon pizza on there. BGD says the streamlined one move, one action, or double move action Venoms in ICRPG is another reason that's so fast, easy to learn and easy to run. Great for onboarding those who are new to the system or to RPGs. The action economy. Okay, action economy. Yeah, so, and that's, we've seen several different RPGs that are not going to have lately, that don't have all these extra attacks and extra moves and all of that, partial actions and all of this. I mean, this is very, well, almost board game like, which I guess is why it's easy. All right, move, because a lot of games like Dragon Strike, Hero Quest, move and then take an action, or take an action and then move. That's what you can do. And then in this one, of course, you don't have to move, in which case you would just be taking an action. Or other games will say, well, if you're not taking an action, move double. So that's pretty clear. You're not making extra attacks, extra actions, reactions, and all of that. So attempts are larger tasks that take time to complete. Attempts involve a D20 roll and rolling effort to attempt to complete a task or destroy a foe. You might destroy a security droid with multiple blaster shots. Translate a tablet covered into a mysterious old runes. Cut your way through the barricade with your battle axe. Okay, the target. Time for the nuts and bolts of making successful checks and attempts. In ICRPG, all the rolls in a scene are rolled against a single, all-powerful number, the target. So this is also something that ICRPG is known for. So all rolls in a scene are rolled against a single, all-powerful number, the target. Whether it's to hit an enemy, the difficulty of scouting in heavy fog, or the cryptic symbols of a dead language. In one scene, there is only one target, and all rolls must meet or beat that number to succeed. And I actually had forgotten about this from the first time that we had read through it. The target is usually somewhere between 10 and 18. GMs can find out more about the setting and modifying targets on page 69. So this symbol over here means the scene has a 12 target. No matter what role you're trying, you'll need a few pieces of info. Usually, you'll know these answers right away, but based on what you're trying to do, your GM is always there to help. So we've talked about, from the game design perspective, knowing what you can do, like having all the information in order to execute your turn, and why that also is something that helps a game move fast. Like when it comes up to your turn, do you have all of the information necessary to take your turn, or do you have to ask questions? If you have to ask questions, then it slows things down. This is in general right here. So one thing that you might have to know is your target number. Oh, I'm going to attempt to do this. Okay, well, that will be a target, a difficulty class of whatever. Or I'm going to, okay, what if I do this instead? Okay, well, that'll be a difficulty of this. Use this roll, and, or, I'm going to attack the monster. What's its armor class? Okay, what's that monster's armor class? You may need information on your turn. Index Card RPG is solving that by putting this number out on the table, so everybody knows what the difficulty of everything in the scene is. Now, so therefore you're not going goblin down here, orc up here, blah blah blah, or crossing the, jumping over the pit. This is just standardizing it for the scene, and in this case, it kind of reminds me of GURPS and basic abstract difficulty, BAD, B-A-D. I believe this is something that was added into GURPS action. It was talking about instead of trying to worry about individual modifiers for this or individual modifiers for that, just say that at this particular level of the game or this particular level of the bad guys hangout, this is a difficulty whatever scene. So that's just your basic abstract difficulty that would be your penalty on all rolls. Now in GURPS, you were still having the target that you were rolling being different, but you have your information to roll, your target information, your die roll target information on your sheet, because GURPS is a roll under system where you've got your strength, your sword skill, your dexterity, all of that sitting there on your character sheet. So I need to make a strength check. All right, I know what I need to roll in order to pass that because it's on my sheet. You don't have to get other questions or get additional information from the game master. This one is generalizing a target number for everything. PH says, I use close, near, and far, but only one action. Move is to change distance. Once you're near something, you don't have to move to attack. I take that kind of movement as part of the attack. Attacks in combat are the most fundamental and ubiquitous example of attempts in an ICRPG. Pathfinder 3 action. Economy achieves the same thing. More archetypical actions and targets. We'll probably have to take a look at that. Are those books coming out? This is the remastered edition. Are those books already out, or are they just about to ship or something like that? Well, I want to look at that, and I want to look at, even though we were pretty big on Pathfinder 2nd edition for a while, like last year, although we haven't really done a whole lot with it for different reasons. But we also want to take a look at the Dungeon Coaches RPG. I don't have it, but we should definitely take a look at the Dungeon Coaches RPG, because it also seems like his action economy is something I really want to study. Sable says, I actually really like that about roll under systems. It's much easier to have all the math pre-done on the character sheet with them. I don't know what Tales of the Valiant is doing. That was kind of falling off my radar as well. I know Lou, my friend Lou, has been writing for it, and I saw his newsletter the other day and mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, Lou's out there writing stuff and creating like Thrones and Bones for Tales of the Valiant. But I haven't been following it. We kind of it seemed like in several months, it kind of seems like it wasn't as it wasn't interesting people on this stream as much. It seemed like. So Sable says, I really like that about roll under systems. Did I already say that? It seems much easier to have all the math pre-done on the character sheet with them. And you're not always, the game master isn't always coming up with something. Now, or always having to come up with something. Now, you simplify that. Like, where's the, because, technically, whatever number you want to roll over, it could be anything. But the game establishing easy, normal, or hard, or extreme, that's what Shadow Dark does, for instance. And just says, is this something easy? Because that's easier probably for the game master to have to come up with. Oh, is this a 13 or is it a 14, a 15 or a 16? Like, where exactly should this be? Probably doesn't matter anyway, especially when we were talking about the math and probability behind dice. Probably it's not really going to matter if you're talking about a difficulty class of 13 versus 14 or whatever. But coming in here and just saying, for instance, in Shadow Dark, if it's easy, it's DC 9. If it's normal, it's DC 12. If it's hard, it's DC 13. DC 15. And if you need something higher than that, make it extreme, and it's 18. There you go. That's what your target numbers would be. The game master can make that call. But this is sort of the both, like we were talking about Sable here. Your bonus, and there's the target number sitting there on the table. BGD says, then, off of the room's target number, the GM can designate specific attempts on the fly as either hard, 3 over the target, or easy, 3 under target. That gives you a simple, intuitive, and universal adjustment. Okay. So here's your standard, and if you need something else, okay, well, that'll be an easy thing to do. So 3 under target. Or that's going to be a difficult thing to do. That's 3 over target. So you actually have 3. You have one number sitting there on the table. And if you need to adjudicate something else, So you could say the goblins are easy to hit. If we're just talking about in a combat situation, we could say the goblins are easy to hit. This is a difficulty 12 room. The goblins are easy to hit, so that'd be 9. And all the orc soldiers are 12. Or if you have the orc soldiers be 12, you could say that the Uruk-hai is difficult, so it's hard. Hard and easy is another defining hallmark of the ICRPG Master Edition. I mean, Lou has been crushing it over here. We haven't, with the amount of material that he's been generating, he is clearly winning the create my fantasy world, get the novels published, and then create an RPG from it. DC 20 simply uses the 4-action economy. That's it. You don't have reactions, but you can use your actions kind of as a reaction. Bonus actions, you don't have reactions, bonus actions, or things like that. You just have 4 actions. Stray says, I've always been a fan of Year Zero and Aliens and the like. Call of Cthulhu is fun, though. Right. You may use your 4 actions of your turn, or depending on your class, out of your turn, depending on the situation. Stray says 2d6 is my bread and butter when I'm a player. Okay, so page 105 for the Master Edition. So let's see. The target is usually something. Okay, we said that. So is this a check or an attempt? Sometimes this isn't clear if what you're trying will be instant or take repeated work. Either way, you'll need the next 2 answers before you roll. What stat am I using to help my roll? Characters have a set of stats that describe their capability in different areas. Depending on what's being tried, you'll almost always get to add the value of 1 stat to your d20. What is the target? Every scene will have a number that's always in view. That's how difficult everything is in the scene. Roll your almighty d20, add your stat, and meet or beat the target to succeed. This simple process will be 90% of your rolls in ICRPG. Target, easy and hard. Oh, here we've got easy and hard. Most rolls you make will be against a target as it is shown. If a 14 is in view, you're rolling to meet or beat a 14 with a d20 plus 1 of your stats. In the numerous possible situations of play, though, you will encounter rolls that are easy and hard. This is a tool ICRPG uses to add detail to the game. So when a roll is hard, meet or beat the target plus 3. When it's easy, meet or beat the target minus 3. If the target is 15 or higher, you'll be looking for ways to make things easy. Here are just a few examples of why and how rolls can be easy. If you're using tools or implements that assist you. Okay, it says tools and implements that assist you can make things easier. If you tried the exact same action last turn but failed, does that make it easier or harder? Another character is assisting you. Okay, then you say, okay, that'll be easy then. If loot you're using makes certain actions always easy. Oh, this is all. When are things easy? If you're using tools, if you tried the exact same action last turn but failed, it becomes easy this time. When things are hard, sometimes you want to do something really cool or really unlikely. Your game master may announce, okay, but that's a hard roll. Here's just a few reasons some actions will be deemed hard to make. If you're pushing for extra results from your action, like double damage. If what you're trying to do is extraordinarily hard to believe possible. If enemies or effects nearby are disrupting your focus or senses. Sable Phoenix says, also a big reason I like Savage Worlds so much, having what seems like a long time since we've talked about Savage Worlds. Since having 1 TN for every check modified by raises means the players don't need to do much math in their heads. You automatically hit if you hit if you hit a 4 or not. The game master and player could play a card that adjusts the universally presented target number, kind of like war. 9. No, 12. No, back to 9. Reverse, like Uno. Core system, roll for effort. One of the core innovations of ICRPG is the concept of effort. Effort simplifies and consolidates all kinds of variations in the outcome of your successful attempt rolls. Not only does it classify types of outcomes into easy, clear dice categories, it lends new details to tasks that just aren't doing damage. Once you've made a successful attempt, it's time to roll for effort. So this is like damage. Basic. If you're only using your bare hands or your wits, roll a d4 after a successful attempt to do damage with a punch, bend bars with raw muscle, or take time to decipher a block of coded writing. Weapons and tools. Anytime you're using a standard ranged or melee weapon to do damage, roll d6. Also roll a d6 when using tools to accomplish a task, such as using a pry bar when opening a jammed door, using bandages to cure a wound, or using a micro torch to seal a bulkhead hatch. Guns. Firearms are deadly. Anytime you use a gun to attack an enemy or do damage, roll d8. Guns also come in many forms with special ways to deal devastating damage. Magic and energy. Roll d10 for effort when you're casting explosive magic or using arcane energy. Also roll a d10 for any weapon or effect that employs energy such as particle beams, lasers, or plasma. Healing with magical power, that would also be a d10. Ultimate. The almighty d12. When you roll a critical success on your attempt, a natural 20 on the 20 roll, you'll roll the type of effort above that fits and add d20 on top of the roll. Whoa. Natural 20 gives you a d20 to add to your attempt. BGD says the de facto agreed upon bonus most ICRPG DMs permit for spending consecutive turns. The de facto agreed upon bonus most ICRPG GMs permit for spending consecutive turns continuing to do exactly the same task after failing with the first attempt is that subsequent attempts are easy. This promotes player tenacity, and it creates dramatic ways for PCs to fail forward at the expense of time and actions in the action economy. We can apply the concept of room DC to dice pool. If 5 and 6 is always a success, you may define that room has a difficulty of 3 or 4 or whatever. Yes. Savage Worlds also has its own version of effort, which having certain things needing not just a single successful roll, but a number of raises to complete, like multiples of 4 that you roll. Savage Worlds has just not stuck with me again. Stray says, I was happy my elf was able to do d4 damage effort with a headbutt. Ha ha ha. Yeah, Heath's Goblin was a little tank too. Yeah, that was fun. Okay. Core system. Hearts and effort. As you just noticed reading about effort dice, you'll be rolling against all kinds of tasks with effort, not just rolling damage. Anything that can't be accomplished in an instant will need effort to complete. Once you get your head around this, you'll see how versatile the system really is and how it encourages all kinds of play beyond just doing damage. How much effort do you need to complete a task or destroy an enemy? That's where hearts come in. Rolling effort. A heart is equal to 10. Just like in the classic video games of yesteryear, ICRPG uses hearts to show how many hit points an enemy has or how much effort is needed to overcome a task. 1 heart is equal to 10 points of effort or damage needed. It's an arbitrary symbol to make the numbers distinct and easy to look at. Using a sword, attacking a monster with 2 hearts, do 20 points of damage with a d6 weapon die to be victorious. Using a magical translation spell to decode 1 heart of ancient runes, you need to roll a total of 10 with your d10 magic die. It could be done in 1 turn. The GM will have all kinds of details to offer how many hearts or task or enemy has to overcome. Your job is to make those attempts and roll for as much effort as you can. For more about building your character to boost effort rolls, see the player's guide section on page 28. Countless hours, movement and distance. Countless hours, mechanics and questions are spent in RPGs about who is far from what. Can I reach the wall? Is the ogre too far away to attack? ICRPG solves all this unnecessary detail with a simple treatment of distance. Whatever it may be, it's either close, near, far, or out of range. Close, you can reach it with your fingers, just standing there. It's close. This is toe-to-toe range, sword fighting distance. No move is needed to use or interact with close things. We don't have that in Shadow Dark. BGD says, big attendance numbers in the chat this morning. Yes, this has been great. The shield wall represents. If you like today's discussion, please remember to like the stream and subscribe to his channel. Yes, please do. This has been a very popular topic. So I've noticed. So I noticed we had up to 24 people watching simultaneously a few minutes ago. So yes, please do. It's good to have everybody. It's wonderful to have everybody this morning. Near. A few hurried steps gets you to near things. Imagine near as being a few seconds away, things within reach of long spears, the distance of a quick draw, or how you can move in a turn and still have time for an action. On the average tabletop, it's about 6 inches or so, so the length of a banana. This is where you get the famous banana coming in. Keep it loose. The real focus is on time, not exact distance. Focus on time. I like that. Not exact distance. Far. Well beyond near, far takes you a few seconds to run. The distance of a basic bow shot as far as throwing a baseball or a very challenging pistol shot. If you want to move far on your turn, it will take the entire turn to do so. An explosion with a far radius would be a huge blast. Look out. Out of range. Beyond far as you play out a scene, as a distance you can't reach in one turn of movement, and none of your efforts can reach. None of your effects can reach. Out of range defines the area in which most of the current action is happening. Or you might want to move out of range of enemy fire, even if your allies cannot help you if you are out of range, so be careful of splitting up the group. To me, that's like distant. Because there are things that you can see like on the horizon or whatever, but you can't interact with. They might be coming, but you can't interact with them. During play, your GM will help describe and answer questions about whether or not something is close, near, or far. It isn't about exact measurements. It's about what is thematically within reach of your characters. Keep it loose and keep things moving rather than getting out the ruler. I think it was in Shadow Dark where like nobody wants to not be able to shoot the dragon because it's 3 feet too far out of bow range. Time can be simple too. All right, let's see about time here. As you read onward, thinking about cool ideas for characters, monsters, encounters, or even full adventures, you'll see time referred to in a few precise ways. As always, the ICRPG keeps it simple. Turn. When a player takes the stage for a few brief moments, moving and doing a few rolls, that's one turn. A turn is 10 to 20 seconds of action. A round. When every player at the table, including the game master, takes a turn, that is one round. Rounds are often used to measure lasting effects, countdowns, or other things that last more than a few seconds. A round is something like a minute in the game world, even if it takes longer to play. Okay, so that's that kind of takes me back there as well, because your turn, a round is something like a minute in the game world, whereas your turn is 10 to 20 seconds, which implies that not everything is happening simultaneously. Maybe if there's initiative or whatever, if there's 6 players or 5 players, including the game master, things are not happening simultaneously. Carl, exactly. Yes, this distance system works great with the dungeon pizza. Yes, and that's why I think we need to put one on the table in a virtual tabletop. Sable says the index card RPG is always a draw. It speaks to how accessible and popular it is, which is borne out by innovative design. Time is the ultimate resource management in life and RPGs, and we talk about that so often here on this channel. That that time is underused in RPGs in general and in different board games as well. PH says, I get a little confused about the heart thing. You use hearts but still count HPs. I'd rather use the enemy has 2 hearts. You only need to take 1 if you deal 10 or more points of damage in 1 hit. But yeah, Kane says the heart is shorthand. That's the way I understand it too. The heart term is more of a shorthand. It helps keep significant math in mind. The difference between a 7 HP kobold and an 8 HP kobold is not really noticeable. Yeah, right. So it's that seems to be what it's doing. It's trying to encourage you to think in chunks here. Just like I was saying that the game master shouldn't really have to worry about is this a DC 12 or is it a DC 13 or whatever. Don't spend a lot of time on that, because it's probably not going to matter anyway, especially rolling a D20 with a rather small modifier. Likewise, does this kobold have 3 HP or 2 HP or whatever? Don't spend a whole lot of time on that either, because that's just not, the resolution, the game's resolution doesn't really make that matter very often at all. So this is think in terms of hearts to kind of chunk tasks. Sable says, I can see it working like that, but rolling 10 or more effort in one roll is fairly rare in ICRPG. Right. Because like you'd have to be rolling at least the D10 to even have a 10% chance. So you do need to be able to do the grind. But 1 heart goblins versus 2 heart owlbears, that feels more significant, right? Kane says, but having a hit threshold and rolling with a number of hits instead of hearts is a great tool and works well. You see, now I've wondered that too. 5 is a lot. I mean, 10 seems to be a lot. So I was wondering that too. Like, well, we would get a bit more granularity if we only thought in chunks of 5. So I do wonder about that design too, PH. Why is the heart 10 and not 5? Let's see. ICRPG is sufficiently flexible that you can run combat attrition in any style you prefer. Its mechanics aren't dependent on any particular scheme, in contrast to others with certain styles baked in. Okay, so freeform. When something takes several minutes, hours, or even days to play out, there is less and less reason to sweat the details or firmly enforce playing in turns. It's still smart to keep things moving around your table, addressing each player's decisions during the stretch of time, but you won't be accurately measuring movement or damage output. Things get more descriptive, and your GM will be introducing more ways to use dice and to keep the story moving. Okay, guys, I think I'm dead. As characters struggle to stop evil forces, explore lost ruins, or battle back tides of alien invaders, death is never far away. In fact, if death is not a constant fear, the game has no real guts to it, no realism in its own context. To make this aspect of the game work well, a decisive, sudden set of rules around death are needed. The ICRPG has a few twists on the classic rules of other games. When you reach 0 HP, as you take damage in the bone-crunching world of ICRPG, you'll eventually find yourself at 0. At that instant, your character drops unconscious. All spells or effects you are creating vanish, and you're bleeding out fast. The clock is ticking on your life. On your next turn after you drop to 0 HP, roll 1d4. Pray you roll high, because in that many rounds, without the help of a miracle, your character will die with a capital D. It's a miracle. On each of your turns while you're dying, you get a very narrow chance to miraculously regain consciousness. Roll a d20. If it's a natural 20, some miracle of anatomy has brought you back awake with 1 HP. It's a miracle. That's like a Shadow Dark thing. I'm sure this came first. But that's, although we are adding, in Shadow Dark, you add your constitution to that d4. If all of your dying rounds passed, no one helps you, and you can't roll a miracle, you are dead. No more rolls, no backdoor tricks. You're toast. Blown to bits. One last thing. If you take so much damage in one cataclysmic instant to reduce your character to negative 20 HP, you are blown to bits. You are just mist and memories. There isn't even a body to bury. Jade says, don't forget that effort is modified by bonuses. I've had players fell 2 heart monsters in about 1 to 2 hits. Okay. So that is important. So it's not just that effort die. There are also bonuses that can be added. BGD says, in practicality, a heart of 10 HP is a very useful level of granularity because in operational terms, only the top 2 tiers of effort, D10 and D20, can ever deliver an unmodified heart of damage. Whereas if a heart were only 5 HP, all categories of effort except basic can deal a heart, and most deal a heart every time. So it's just a heart, is always something that's going to have to be ground down, almost always. Yep, I remember we had to give Heath's Goblin a stim pack. We almost lost him at the end. Yeah, I did. I do remember almost going out. Recovery. I don't want to die. We got a few more minutes here. I want to live. There are a few ways to recover HP and avoid becoming a skeleton, besides hoping to roll a miracle after you've been pummeled to a pulp. At any time during play, sacrifice your turn to pause, regain your breath, bind a few cuts, and recover your gusto. To do so, roll D20 on your con stat, plus your con stat, and meet or beat the current target. If you can do so, regain your con stat +1 in HP instantly. Now get back in the fight. I didn't remember that. So if you can sacrifice your turn to breathe. That's telling you something about what HP represent as well there. You get your con back. Con stat +1 in HP instantly. Don't die on me, man. I'm going to have to think about that. As long as time matters, I mean, this is going on. As long as time matters, spending an action to do that should be, it's got to be significant. But that also seems to be what happens when time is not significant. When you actually have time to, if you're going through a dungeon, let's say, okay, in the middle of the fight, you may want to take time to recover. Or I'm down, I'm going to take one action to recover. This says any time during play, so you could keep doing it and increasing your hit points. But things are happening around you while it's happening. But what happens when you get to a part of the dungeon where you can get a legit break for several minutes? Seems like you would enter the next scene with full hit points. Don't die on me, man. If you're unconscious and bleeding out, counting down precious dying rounds, you need help. If an ally can reach you and make a successful roll with int or wisdom stats on the current target, your dying timer stops in its tracks. You're stable but unconscious and owe that ally your life. So don't die on me. Stabilize a fallen ally by touching them and making an int or wisdom roll. This stops their dying timer. Healing and first aid. Be it through magical means D20 or medical tools like bandages D6, your allies can heal you during battle. There are many ways to heal and be healed, but you'll discover more during play. The hero coin. What is that? Kane says the recovery action is an often overlooked and underestimated action in ICRPG, often because of the time pressure. Big choices to give up a turn. That's as it should be, right? Recovery is really only used during the fight. Read on. All right, the legendary hero coin. Okay, you have all the tools of the game system now. You're ready to start bending rules. That's why they're made for anyway. If you go deeper into things, you'll get all kinds of abilities and loot that will make things get crazy. Before these days come, though, it's time to learn of ICRPG's final feature, the hero coin. We haven't talked about it much yet, but a great session of tabletop owes itself to exciting, sincere, inventive roleplay by players. This elusive element of the hobby is the topic of much discussion. Is it talking in character? Is it sacrificing for others? Is it taking the game in a new direction? Or is it making the table more fun for everyone? It's all these things. When the GM sees this kind of excitement in play, the hero coin is the way that moment is celebrated. That was brilliant. Take a hero coin. Using your hero coin. Here are the rules for the coveted hero coin once granted by the GM. You can only have one hero coin at a time, no hoarding. Turn your hero coin into a reroll of any die roll. Turn in your hero coin to add a D12 onto any die roll. You can give your hero coin to another player at any time during play. So that's what we do here. What is this? This is a trial scenario. Oh, we might have to play that one morning. Player's guide. Okay, so now it gets into character creation. All right, well, there's more to look at. I'm not sure if we'll follow up immediately tomorrow. There are other things going on we may need to talk about tomorrow. But tonight, don't forget, tonight we're going to be talking about Faraway Bird with Douglas A. Burton And then also members of the chat here. We've got Sable Phoenix and James Bacon will be joining us, as well as Brianna. The ever-popular Brianna Da Silva will be on the show tonight. As well, we'll be talking about Faraway Bird. That is Doug's book, historical fiction novel about the Empress Theodora. That is over on the Table Talk channel. If you're not subscribed over there, that's where we have conversations with people. I'll put a subscribe link in the chat right here. That's 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time tonight. We will be having that conversation. And then also, I'll put also here, if you'd like to play, if you're new here, we didn't get to show off part of the coffee shop right here, but if you'd be interested in playing games such as the Index Card RPG online with us, please do click there. I've got an interest form set up. And actually, that's what I got to go work on right now. I'm going to post the how to play Dragon Strike in 5 minutes as soon as I get off this stream. But then I'm going to start working to make sure that we've got a place to play games together very soon. Oh, hey, Retro. Good to see you. Oh, there he goes. All right. Everybody, have a wonderful day. Go forth, be creative, be constructive, and grind on. I'll see you tonight.